we're all really humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. Like, blow our nose, fart, all these things. Everybody does it. It's not like, oh my gosh, Brad Pitt or, I don't know, Taylor Swift, she seems to be popular right now.
Yeah.
They don't do those things. They do. They just happen to be in a career and have a talent that gets really put on a pedestal. You can live a happy life if you choose to. Like, be happy. There's just tough stuff. I mean, and it plants a little seed in their mind. Because my wife does this to me all the time. She's planting little seeds in my mind of stuff that somebody else will reinforce one day, and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I love her for that, because that frustrates me. When I'm trying to plant a seed or get somebody to do something and they don't do it, well, it kind of hurts my feelings.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm Crockett Carruthers. Today we got Neil Dudley on, and he has his own podcast, The Cowboy Perspective. He's also a salesman, I guess, of sorts, puts on an event. We'll get into all that, and comes from a rich ranching and rodeo background. So good to have you on, Neil.
Holy shit, my heart stopped there for a second. You said rich. I was like, Crockett, don't start telling people I'm rich.
Well, not monetarily, maybe.
Yeah, well, isn't it subjective? Like wealth, fame, riches, it's a subjective thing, because there's always somebody wealthier. There's always somebody richer. There's always somebody that's got something you wish you had. A big piece of the trick is saying, which is partly what we were talking about right before we hit record, is I haven't put out episodes of the Cowboy Perspective for a while because I got to comparing myself and being like all butthurt because I don't have a bunch of followers. And I'm like, and I see people that do have a lot of followers, and I'm like, the shit I do is twice as cool as that, at least to me.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to give them the attention.
Yeah.
So, that's the point. I fell in the same trap. I fell right in the trap I've told people don't fall into. Like, don't compare. Do a thing that you love. Do it well. And
just do it because you enjoy it.
Yeah, that's right. It will be and I do enjoy it. I've missed podcasts, and I'm glad you invited me to come, talk about whatever little list of questions you got wrote down there. But, all of those things are things that I feel like I've been blessed to have a career in, to experience, and to see a lot of other really high performers do the same things. So if we talk about it and somebody listens and they enjoy it and they thought, wow, that was kind of fun. I spent an hour of my life listening to a couple of guys chop it up about whatever it is we end up getting into. Yeah. And it plants a little seed in their mind, because my wife does this to me all the time. She's planting little seeds in my mind of stuff that somebody else will reinforce one day, and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I love her for that, because that frustrates me. When I'm trying to plant a seed or get somebody to do something and they don't do it, well, it kind of hurts my feelings. She just kind of keeps planting the seed, and then, so that's what we might be doing, is just planting the seed for somebody else to sprout.
Right. Yeah. And it's cool getting, I'm sure you've had the same feedback with your content, is like, whether you feel like you're not doing enough or it wasn't a good piece of content or episode or whatever, or maybe you get negative comments, or
I get zero comments. I don't get negative ones. I don't get good ones. I mean, it's like, it just makes me wonder. Like, that's the stuff. But I'll go back and listen to them, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I enjoyed listening to that now. So I think it is what it is. It's like, I'm about to record some more podcasts. I hope people keep tuning into, because, by the way, everybody, if you're listening, I don't know what piece of the lineup this is going to fall into, but Crockett's a working sucker. I mean, he's recorded like 4 today. I'm number 3, Like he's getting done the content so he can go do the rest of the things in his life. Don't be jaded and think this doesn't take work.
Right.
So it does. So, high five to you. Because
that's what we've talked about before is, even if you are, which I'm not, but if you look at these people that are influencers, social media influencers, and that's what they do for a living, it's the same as any other job. And I would say, depending on how, it is basically the same as being an entrepreneur. The more time you put into it and the bigger you get, it's more work and you get paid more. If you're going to use it like a job and you put a little bit of content out, not a lot of effort, if you do get paid, it's probably going to be small. But it is a job regardless, if you're going to treat it that way. So it is effort. It takes away from doing other things. So, it's cool when you do get rewarded or get some feedback or whatever from it. And, I have people on here like you and everybody else. And just cause I have questions and I like hearing their stories and I think that you just gotta look at that cause you enjoy it. And maybe if one person gets something out of it, then it's probably worth it.
Have you ever asked yourself why it costs so much to get paid? Hey everyone, this is a show that has a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on, and the number one rule in business is to get paid, right? If you own a business, there's a good chance you're overpaying for credit card processing, and there's an even better chance that you're getting terrible customer service. At Diversified Payments, we make the payment process simple for both the customer and the business. Being based in Central Texas, we're able to offer business owners personal customer service while saving them money on their credit card processing fees. And we're the only payment company that I know of that's deeply rooted in the ranching and rodeo industries. If you think you're paying way too much in card processing fees or you can't get in touch with your payment processor when there's an issue, go to diversifiedpayments.com/wealthycowboy.
I mean, I'm just a whiny bag. Seriously. Like everybody should be laughing a little bit at me because that's a bad attitude. It's the wrong way to think about stuff.
So
I don't usually do that, right? But I think it's a great illustration for everybody to consider. Hey, we can all be whiny bags. Like I did it. I don't want to be that, but it happened. So whatever, go on, do better tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I've heard a lot of your shows, with you being on the other side of the mic, the interviewer, and I'm curious to hear about you. I know a little bit. I've known your family and you for a little bit of, from the ranching and the rodeo world. So you grew up to a family of ranchers, right?
Yeah, you bet. I was just God picked me, and I thank him for that, to drop me into the family I was born into and happened to be, part of a registered Hereford ranch in which my dad worked, so I'm just going with him to do cowboy jobs, breaking horses, riding horses, gathering cattle, working cattle, building fence, plowing fields, hunting dove, all these kind of things. That was where I grew up. It's where I became, I guess, the early parts of who I am today. I don't know if there's a better life to live. And I guess I'm partial, but I feel really lucky to have grown up in that. I knew both sets of my grandparents really well. I mean, until their later years, I got like a lot of years getting to know them and access their thoughts about things. Not necessarily every time did I want to. Like sometimes they were telling me, giving me access to their thoughts when I did wrong or, stupid stuff, which that's good. That's part of learning and growing up with somebody who cares enough to put that work into you, because it is work. I'm raising some kids now, and it's like, oh my gosh, are they ever going to pick this up? It's like the simplest stuff, but I don't quit.
Yeah,
because I care enough about them. Like somebody at work I quit. I mean, I finally just say, look, I can't, give me the next one because this one ain't picking it up. You ever thought about that? Like with a horse, you're just like, I cannot try to get this horse to turn around anymore. Just give me another one.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got to cut your losses sometimes. Right. So, y'all were ranching the Dudley Brothers down there in Comanche, raising Herefords, and then you got into rodeoing at some point, right?
Yeah, so I really was just a cowboy, just gathering cattle. I mean, I never thought about rodeo much. We would go to the rodeos in town or maybe up here to the Fort Worth Stock Show or something during the winter. And it was kind of cool, but then I saw my uncle rope. He came out in the old timers roping or something at Comanche one time. And I was like, I didn't know he did that. And I was like, maybe that means I can do that. And it just spurred this little spark of interest in me. At the time, I mean, really, I was a football player, basketball player. I spent a lot of time from maybe 10 to 16 just doing athletics stuff, like just roping, running track, not roping, but running track, football, basketball, this kind of stuff. Well, about my junior year in high school is when I really first picked up a rope and started thinking about roping. I had a couple of really good friends. We've talked about him. Charlie Sider, Chad and Clint, his sons. Well, Clint was a year younger than me. Chad was a year older than me. Man, we used to just rope and tie and then go in and sleep and then get up and rope and tie. It was so fun.
You pretty much immersed yourself in it once you figured it out.
And I picked it up pretty quick. The ranch had a couple of horses that were, that was kind of a little bit of a cheat factor I had. The ranch had these 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old ranch horses that were broke. I mean, good horses. And you can make a calf, you would make them into a calf horse in about 2 months. So now real quick, then I had a calf horse. I had horses to haul. And I don't know if anybody's listening from the ranch. I really appreciate not every kid that was, part of the ranch rodeoed or got to take a horse. Now, Lane, he did a little bit, and maybe not everybody wanted to, but that was certainly a big leg up that the ranch offered me to just have access to these horses. I mean, a lot of people don't get that. And so that's what I call momentum. It's a cool thing if you can give. I don't want to give my kids anything really. I don't think anybody gets anything from something gave to them. I never have. I mean, I pretty much don't even value it typically. If it was gave to me, I don't understand it. I don't understand the value. I just am like any normal human. I didn't have to dig it up out of the dirt, so I don't appreciate it as much. So I don't want to give them stuff, but I do want to give them momentum. I want to give them, when you get a good send off a calf horse, you got momentum. You're getting there. You got help. That's all. It's not doing it for me. My legs still had to do the moving. My body still had to make the run, flank the calf, tie the calf, all these things. But that little holding the slack was nice momentum. So you can do that, I think, in life, financially and spiritually and with your relationships and network, all these things.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of keeping a positive attitude is I mean, you can get momentum from anything. Like you wake up in the morning and make your bed, there's a win, or you woke up on time, didn't hit snooze. That's a win. And if you just set some little wins, you want to have a big goal in mind, but some little wins like that will keep that momentum going.
Yeah. Maybe I don't want it to be just that. Like what I'm also talking about financial momentum. So the ranch gave me financial momentum in the way that they didn't buy me a horse, but they gave me a horse to use and they let me use it. They didn't charge me anything. I wasn't winning a bunch of money. So if they had it, wouldn't, if it was some percentage of my winnings, it wasn't going to be much anyway. But that's the momentum. Like, I think as we build our careers, as we grow up, as we figure things out a little bit, start getting a little money in the bank, good mindset, you bet that's momentum. I totally agree with that. I think, my mom and dad never really gave me money, but they had loaned me money sometimes. And, as long as I always paid that back, then there was always I could go to that banker. And now it wasn't easy, because what I wanted them to do was say, okay, sure. And what they did was, well, what's your plan? Tell me, like, when are we going to get this paid back? So there's all those things that just make it more real world than just giving you money. And so I think that's the momentum I hope I can find ways to pass along. And to not just my kids, but other people, and to good organizations who help other people. Bacon Bash is one of them.
How did that momentum, how did that carry you? Did you, like, what was the pursuit? How far did you go in that calf roping journey? Was it just...
I roped against the best. Went to probably 40 rodeos, maybe 50. I forget what years, but when I was rodeoing, had left school, came back home, and was just working on the ranch and rodeoing. That's pretty much all I was doing. And that's a cool thing about rodeo. You can test yourself against the best. I mean, it ain't hard. Buy a pretty cheap permit, get lucky one rodeo. You got a card, man. You can go enter. Denver, Cheyenne, just think of the biggest rodeos. You can go enter them. So, man, I was entering them up. I was roping Trevor Brazil, Fred Whitfield, Cody Old.
You were going to the pro rodeos?
Clay Cherney, yeah, pro rodeos. I mean, I was single, and I just didn't take much money to survive, so that's what I did. I rodeoed.
It's a good way to see different places, too.
Yeah, see different places. Make different friends, good friends. I got a lot of really good friends that came from my years of rodeoing. Rodeo's cool too, because like, you're driving all over the country. I mean, somehow one summer or one spring, sometime or another, I got on the same kind of chain or string of rodeos that Tyson Durfee was going to. So we were just ended up like at the same rodeo all the time. Then we were just kind of stay at these different places, these different people's arenas who have calves, so you can practice while you're out in California going to rodeos. So I got to know him pretty good. It was just cool. It was just like, you could just take off driving. And I was never scared I couldn't find somebody who'd let me park my car and feed me.
Yeah.
That's cool about rodeo.
Yeah, that's cool. At what point then? So at some point, I guess you realized you needed to do something different.
I don't know if I ever really realized it. It was just kind of a slow happening. My buddy... my best friend since kindergarten, really. His name's Cody Lane. He's a really smart, hardworking guy. We're just a whole lot alike and a little bit different. And that was kind of what made a perfect deal. Well, he got a job and ended up managing to go from first day employee to president of the company in like a year. So once he got made president, he called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, nothing, basically, just roping and rodeoing and working at the ranch. Why don't you come over here and work at this bacon company with me? Well, then 24 years ago, I'm still selling bacon. And even in the early years, I was still rodeoing. Like, as I worked at the plant, at the Pedersons, I'd go to California I mean, there's a ton of good stories from this time of my life, because I'd go to California, demo bacon, sell bacon at the Whole Foods and stuff, and then I'd call out there and get a ride and go to a couple of rodeos too. One time I was in LA for something. There was a rodeo out in, I think it's Chino, California. Well, they got a bunch of casinos out there too, which at that time in my life, and even still, I don't mind getting caught in a casino. I know this is I think farmers and ranchers got a little gambler in them.
Yeah.
A lot of them get that fix from their everyday gambles and cattle and rain and this kind of thing. Well, I don't know. I guess I didn't get the full fix. So I like to go in the casino.
What do you play in there?
Everything. Like if I don't know the game, I'm going to play it till I know it. And that usually costs money. You know? I really like craps. It's a fun game when the tables. If you get to winning, it's fun. Mm-hmm. It goes south quick too, but yeah. A fun craps table is a lot of fun for me. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I'm leaving LA to go what I thought was like an hour drive out here. Well, it ends up being 4 hours because it's traffic jam the whole way. I'm in like a Kia Rio or something, rental car. I think I have my rope can with me. Well, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get out to Chino. There'll be a hotel. I'll get a room. Well, show up. And every person in LA has made a mass exodus to Chino to go to the casino. There is not a hotel room anywhere. Nothing. So I end up sleeping in my car at the rodeo arena. Just like freezing my ass off too, because it was cold. It's kind of the desert out there, so it gets kind of cold at night. Head on the rope can, back seat of the Kia Rio. Anyways, I ended up missing my calf, and it wasn't any good. But so if you're ever in LA and you think you're going to go to Chino on a weekend or a Friday night and get a hotel room, you ain't going to do it.
And I bet that was pretty uncomfortable because you're a tall guy. You probably had to stick your feet out the window or something. It would have been a hilarious picture, I'm sure. Look like a roughie out there sleeping in a car.
I got up, drove to the casino, brushed my teeth in the bathroom, splashed a little water on my face. And then I think the rodeo didn't start till like after lunch or something. So I still had a lot of time to kill prior to getting to the rodeo. I can remember that damn Brahma Cross calf outrunning me, tail straight up, just like gone, man. I didn't even get to throw my rope. I was like, this is just serves me right. This is going to have to be a story I tell, because it's crazy. It can happen. Yeah. And that can happen in business and in so many places. That's an illustration of how it can just go south. All you can do is go to the next one. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all you could do. And I never did do that great. Like, I was always kind of just staying on that last rodeo. And so I think that's Clinton interviewed Fred Whitfield. Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a really good one. I saw Fred in a convenience store in Comanche one time when he was like my hero. This is in his heyday. It might have been his second world championship, sometime in the 90s. He's just come through going to rodeo. I'm like, hey, are you Fred Whitfield? He looked around like, I don't know who you talking about. And I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean, And then he laughed. No, yeah, that's me. I'm just giving you a hard time, kid.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And it's the rodeo world's kind of cool because even the biggest celebrity in the rodeo world is pretty accessible still, it seems like. You never know where you're going to run into them or anything.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of cool about rodeo. They're going to be at places. It's not like every rodeo is in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Like, they go to rodeos all over the country, and these rodeos don't all of them have green rooms and this kind of thing where they're just out there. And it's great too, because I lose track of this. I mean, I've done it recently, just like not putting out episodes. I lose track of we're all really humans. That's the truth. Like, blow our nose, fart, all these things. Everybody does it. It's not like, oh my gosh, Brad Pitt or, I don't know, Taylor Swift, she seems to be popular right now.
Yeah.
They don't do those things. They do. They just happen to be in a career and have a talent that gets really put on a pedestal. But I don't know that they're any better humans than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not to diminish their skill set, and they know how to leverage it and monetize it and all these things. I just have to tell myself that because it's like, hey man, wake up. It's okay. They're just the same. They don't have any extra brain cells or skill set that you have. It's just they're doing a thing that gets really rewarded with attention. And that once you get attention, you can turn that to money.
Right. So let's talk about, I wanted to dive into your career and I wanted you to explain what you do and what that company does. And how did you start out? Were you just a sales rep or just worked in the factory, or what was that like when you started?
Yeah. Well, so I was telling you a little bit about Cody. He started as they hired him to be the marketing manager. He had a food and fiber marketing degree from A&M. Well, he showed up day one. They said, hey, cool, glad you showed up. Actually, we got to change your title to the QA director. Don't worry, we're going to pay you the same amount of money. And he kind of looked around like, I don't know what that is, but okay, So once he got made president, that's kind of what he put me on that same road. So that's where I started. I started, in QA, like he said, okay, cool, we're going to hire you. First day you
what
get
is
here.
that?
Yeah. Well, okay, so same question I had. All right, yeah, what is that? He said, well, Google HACCP, and when you come to work, you need to know what that stands for. Do you know?
No.
Okay. It stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. It is what meat production plants use to make sure the food's safe. It's not going to make you sick. It was developed by NASA to make sure astronauts didn't get sick. So it's a way of saying, okay, in this process, in this food making system, right here's a hazard. Here's a critical piece of it that we need to really pay close attention to. And here's how we're going to verify that these pieces are met. So the USDA, which we operate an inspected plant, so we're always getting watched by the USDA inspector. That's what he's kind of verifying and paying attention to is are you following the rules that you outline for yourself in the HACCP plant? And you got to update them, and things change, and you get a different piece of equipment, or you start buying a different cut of raw material, or you start putting a different ingredient in there. So you're kind of always changing that up. But it's a great place to start or it was for me anyway, because I got to see the real nitty gritty of what it took to make ultimately what I end up selling. And that was, it's just kind of my natural inclination is to talk to people and to make friends and to build relationships. I'm not like a great salesman. I mean, I know about pipelines and qualified customers and closing things and how do you negotiate around these, somebody that wants to say, no, I don't want to do that. But none of that stuff really ever came into the game for me. It was more like, hey, I'm Neil. Oh, you're Crockett. Cool, man. I got some bacon. You want to try it? No? Okay, well, I'll be by here tomorrow, the next month, or 3 years from now, and maybe you want to try it then. Otherwise, you want to come brand some calves?
Yeah.
It's just like, let's just do stuff together, do fun stuff together. If you ever need some help, I wanted to be the guy that was kind of around there. Anyways, I got off track a little bit. So I did the QA thing for a little while. Then I kind of started running the production at the plant. basically Cody just put me right through the same kind of ladder he had went along as he made president of the company. And he had a family by then. I'm still single. So it made a lot more sense really for me to do the traveling. That's why I was going to LA and Atlanta and New York and all these different places. Wherever Whole Foods was, basically. Every new store Whole Foods opened up, I would go. Cody went to a bunch of them too, but it was easier for me because I didn't have a family at home that I was trying to get back to. Now, I've just been on the road for a couple of weeks. We did a little vacation. Then I went to a food show. And now I'm up at the cattle raisers deal. That's harder. Yeah. I mean, my kids are doing track meets. I'm missing them. I'd like to go, just be a part of these things that everybody tells me go by in a blink. And I know they do. I can't slow down the blink, but I'm still, I'm missing it. It's okay though. I mean, you're going to have to miss some stuff. Like they need to see me doing the things I do. Like they need a real picture of what it takes to make a living, to be you. Like I also think that's good for them to see. Yeah, my dad, he's kind of hard. Like he never would. He made us feed animals and he made us get up early and he made us brand calves and he made us castrate calves and I didn't want to and it was scary and all this stuff. But he did, they've seen me learn how to fly a plane in my 40s. I mean, you don't hear most people learning to fly a plane at age 40. I want to be that kind of example. Like, hey, that's scary a little bit. That's a challenge. Although if I pull it off, that's going to be cool. I'm going to enjoy it. So someday in their life, they're going to see what seems like a pretty daunting task. And they might say, I think just eat that elephant one bite at a time.
So where you're in sales at the company now is basically what you've got.
My title is the VP of Business Development. So I ran the sales organization. I ran the sales. I was selling, then I was hiring people to help me demo product. Then those people would kind of grow into a salesperson that was taking meetings with potential customers, selling the products, making sure the orders and the POs got through our system the way we were supposed to. And one of those people she's really good. She ended up, I think as a company and as a person who's trying to make sure we keep good people, you got to kind of show them they're going to get to move up. They're going to get to do new things. They're going to get to be challenged. So we spent a couple of years, she and I really kind of doing the thing together. And then she got named VP of Sales and I moved to VP of Business Development, which is this kind of ambiguous title. What it really means is I support the sales team. I spend a lot of time internally with culture and this kind of stuff and making sure everybody sees what Pedersons is all about. And then I got to, it's almost, I don't know why I'm using these words exactly. Part of the role also has to do with marketing, content creation, podcasts. So I do a podcast for Pedersons. We're talking about where food comes from.
What is it called?
The Pedersons Farms podcast. It's really probably the most necessary. People don't know where their food comes from. You probably do. I don't know. Does Taylor? I mean, does everybody? I don't think so. Most people don't understand that food doesn't come from the grocery store, especially in these big urban areas. And they're talking about me in the same way. They're like, this guy doesn't understand what happens at the skate park. I always use this example, but it's the best one I've come up with yet. Like, I don't know what happens at a skateboard park, So it's like somebody would have to tell me. And then somebody else would have to tell me, because just one person, that's not a very good cross section or way to learn, just getting information from one person. So I'm trying to be a voice of somebody from agriculture, somebody in the food business, somebody who's seen the process, where food comes from, to say, hey, this is how I see it. I'm not God. I don't know everything there is, but I've seen this. Listen to somebody else's. I mean, because a lot of those conversations are being had at the wine bar in Beverly Hills. They're not talking about the perspective I have. And I need to hear theirs too. I think we all get in these, you can think about it even politically these days, get in these echo chambers where we only listen to people with the same views as us. I think that's a bad idea. I'm not saying I got to agree with them, but I want to open my mind enough to realize I don't know everything I think I know. And if something they says gets me thinking, well, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy nowadays. Like, you can't really have a debate with somebody or a talk. It's like it's an argument or a fight or whatever. You know, it's not like two people with differing point of views can be friends anymore.
Sure. Well, I was thinking about this on the drive over. A cowboy perspective, which that I have in me, is I've seen a couple of guys fist fight, like trying to kick each other's ass. And the next day, pulling a baby calf out of a cow together, like working, it's like, dude, we were super sideways, but that's over. Now it's back to, now we're still working together. Gosh, can't we just do that? I watched some of this content. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but this one kid, I just kind of want to get a hold of him and beat him up and tell him, like, he's just a real smart ass to people. He gets right in their face and you can't talk to me. And he gets lots of eyeballs. Like, the eyeballs are coming to this thing that is so wrong. Like, if the world was right in my mind, one of these people he gets in the face of would just whip his ass good and say, you don't treat people like that. Stop doing that. I don't care if your buddy's over there filming this, but you can't do that now because, they're going to go to jail. You're fixing to get your ass sued off because you beat this kid up. Well, he was doing a very stupid thing. He needed to have his ass kicked. It's like, I needed to have mine spanked. I needed to be in trouble a lot of times. That's how I learned. Our culture is missing very important stuff, like a man to grab that guy by the scruff of the neck, smack him around a couple times and say, you can't do, like, you're not as cool as you think you are, getting all these TikTok likes because you're being an asshole to somebody and they don't do anything back because they don't want to. They can't afford the lawsuit. Yeah. Man, he deserves a smacking. Not that I hate the kid or anything. He just doesn't understand the rules or what I think the rules should be. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't just get away with stuff like that. And you damn sure shouldn't be put on a pedestal for it and, get lots of attention for it. To me, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's weird how it's progressed, and you see what gets attention is a lot of negativity and stuff instead of the positive things and the family friendly things and values and principles and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I just know I could see my daughter seeing this content thinking, oh my gosh, he got 1 million likes. Hey, girls, let's get together. Let's go do that same thing. It can go bad quick. Yeah. I mean, it's like, so far, nobody's smacked him around, but one day somebody's going to say, I don't know where you're from, but I ain't from that place.
Yeah. The wrong person. You never know.
That's right. All right. So we're kind of got off track in my career. But that's really the trajectory of it. It was
sales and marketing now.
Yeah,
basically.
But started out making the bacon, putting the bacon on the truck, driving the bacon to the grocery store, on the way home, stopping by any other grocery store we weren't doing business with, asking them if they wanted to try the product. We'll drop you off a couple packages and just building it that way. I mean, when I first started working there, we did $2 million in sales. Last year we did over 70. So I've been a part of seeing it grow.
Yeah.
That wasn't me that did it. It was a whole bunch of people that did it. I was a part of it. I'm not gonna be ashamed of that. I'm pretty proud of it, actually. And I've seen it go from take big jumps, like businesses. Grant Cardone talks about this a little bit, and one of the businesses he does is like these levels. Like you get to maybe it's 5 million, and then you got to break through and get to 8, or it just feels like you're just waffling. You can't. So I've seen, we started doing no sugar bacon in like 2012. That exploded our business. It was one of those rare items that really hit the market and was something nobody else was doing. One of the guys I interviewed said something like this: you either need to be the best one at what you do, or the only one doing it, which de facto makes you the best.
Yeah.
So, and we were kind of the only ones doing no sugar bacon at that time, and it really did. It went really well.
That's cool to, get out in that blue ocean, a whole different market, basically.
What I learned, which I think anybody listening could learn, you ever come across your no sugar bacon, whatever it is, it won't be yours forever. We didn't understand that. We're too young, too inexperienced. So many things. We didn't know what we had in our hand, and we did not maximize it to the level we could have and should have. Which it would have took a little risk. We would have needed to spend exponentially more money on marketing, promotions, all these things. But we could have done so much more with that item than we did. We just kind of, it was a train that was already running pretty fast. We're just trying to hang on instead of running beside it and getting it going even faster. So if you come across that thing, no sugar bacon was the thing. Mine can be anything. If you feel it taking off and you feel like, hey, I found a thing that the market wants and nobody else is doing,
go hard.
Do not wait. It will be gone. And I feel like Dale, we're talking about Dale Brisby. You interviewed him. He did that a little bit. Like he found this comedic thing that was the cowboy side of it. I mean, there were other ones, but he found that little spot, and he did a very good job of maximizing it. I'll bet you it's a lot harder for him now than it was 2 years ago. And social media has totally changed. The internet's totally changed. So all of those things are making some of the way people got, popular or attention harder because, there's just more platforms now. So some of it, I'm like kind of looking the other way. So when's the magazine going to be the thing again?
Yeah, we'll see. It's always something new.
Yeah, well, it may be the podcast, really. It could be the longer form thing, the non-echo chamber conversations, the time somebody could really learn a lot about whoever it is they're interested in. Maybe someday, I know there are a few people that are interested in me and what I do and the Cowboy Perspective and who I talk to. Well, thanks to you, they're going to get, maybe somebody from your audience goes over there and listens to some stuff. And when they go, they'll have a good understanding of where I'm coming from because we've had this conversation.
I'm curious. at Pedersons, it sounds like you were kind of just, wondering as a kid, and fell into this job basically. What kept you there this long? Was it because y'all were on that growth and you saw the opportunity there, or is it good culture, or was you just kind of just didn't have anything else going on? Or
Yeah. It was probably all of those things, right? Mostly, I'm working with my best friend since kindergarten. His wife's there. Then I end up getting married. My wife works there. I've got no reason to go anywhere else. I'm making good money. I'm doing stuff I enjoy. I like working with people. I like selling for that reason, working with people. We're still in a market with room to grow and to do new things and to build it. So I never had any reason to, I guess I was always making the culture. I mean, so I love it. I'm not sure everybody that works at Pedersons loves it. I know a lot of them roll their eyes when I come into meetings, and I want to do the things that I do. I chase rabbits a lot. Like, meetings are hard to have with me because I get an idea. I want to talk about that idea. So everybody around me is constantly trying to put up structure to keep me focused.
Yeah.
Which is good, and I appreciate it, although I hate it at times. I'm like, no, the thing y'all don't want to talk about is about the one chance we have to go to the next level. It can get frustrating. And they're also saying, yeah, but if we talk about this one thing, we're not going to get any of this other stuff that is necessary done. Mm-hmm. And none of the rest of us are enjoying this, Like, that's something I had to wake up to. I was loving it, but they hated it.
Yeah.
So that ain't doing anybody any good. I mean, leaders, you got to really think about that. Just because you're loving it, it doesn't mean your teammates are, or the people you're working with are. And if you don't find something that they love too, you're going to be doing it by yourself. And you can't get very far very fast by yourself.
Yeah, nobody. It's hard to make somebody else see the dream like you see it. And no matter what area of life that is, it's doing things on my own, and you hire somebody, and it's hard because it's not the way you would have done it, or it's like you look at them doing it, and you're like, "Come on, why are you not excited about it?" or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to get those people. And I think it's like you said about the sugar-free bacon. It's like when you find somebody, you got to hold on to them that cares about it like you do.
Oh yeah, nobody's going to work for your business as hard as you will. I mean, if you're thinking you're going to quit your job and start a business and because you want a bunch of free time, please don't quit your job. I'm begging you. Owning your own business, being your own boss. Oh, it's this great dream everybody wants to talk about. Oh, look at all these billionaire people and they don't have to answer to anybody. Bull. That ain't true. Elon Musk is... I think these really billionaire people learn how to handle stress at the highest level really, really good. Mm-hmm. Just they're taking flyers, they're trying stuff nobody wants to believe in. It's true with my podcast. I did it for 3 years. I'm still doing it, but I did it for 3 years and threw my sucker in the dirt, stomped my feet and said, I'm not doing this anymore. Nobody cares. Nobody likes it. Well, that's not true. I just, I lost the steam for it. Like, I got tired of what it takes to build your own business. I wanted it now. Mm-hmm. You got to have the patience. You're going to find out. I mean, you probably already know. Like, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not easy doing the podcast. It's not easy selling the credit card processing thing. It's not easy selling the insurance.
Yeah, nothing I've found is easy. Yeah.
The cattle right now are pretty dang good deal, but they're still not easy. I mean, cattle market's probably the best it's ever been, ever. And so now you get to make a little money, but the last 5 years you didn't get to make any money. And probably next year or the year after, you ain't going to get to make any money. So anyways, I don't know what all that rambling really was for, but just to tell you, wake up. I'm not discouraging anybody from being their own boss or building their own business. I love it. It's what I want to do. And the stress, I understand. That's what I'm signing up for.
Yeah, I say that, I relate it back to cowboying a lot or ranching. And I mean, there's two ways to do it. You can go work on a ranch and just have a job and get to do all the cool things, and have the security and the steady paycheck and probably benefits and all that. Or you can go try to build it yourself, and it's no security, no benefits, no guaranteed income, but you have the opportunity to go wherever you can take it. To the sky's the limit. And I mean, some people are cut out, I think, to be gamblers and more risk tolerant than others. And you just got to know yourself and decide which path you want to go down. If it's you want the big risk, big reward, or the security with low risk, low to no risk. And you can live a happy life either way.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the fact. You can live a happy life if you choose to. Like, be happy. There's just tough stuff. I mean, so I'm doing the booth up there at the TSCRA. I had this cool backdrop designed. I was like, man, this is going to be cool. Didn't show up. And I mean, I was, for about 5 minutes, that bummed me out pretty big. And then I said, well, I guess it was just going to look like shit. So it was a good thing I didn't get it. There's probably something wrong with it. That's kind of how you got to approach it. It's like, oh man, I'm trying to make all this happen, but you can't make it happen. The president came into Dallas the other day. I'm in Nashville. We're trying to get back. We had to sit on the tarmac for 2 hours because Air Force One came to DFW and we couldn't get in. I'm pretty sure that slowed down the shipment of these backdrops,
Yeah.
Or why didn't I do it 2 months ago? And then it wouldn't have been such a tight deal. They could have came from wherever they came from and been here in plenty of time. I said, just all that stuff. Everybody deals with it, from Mark Cuban to Crockett Carruthers to, I don't know, just any of them, Clinton Anderson. We all have those things.
So tell me about Pedersons. Is that the headquarters there in Hamilton? Is that the national deal and everything?
I guess another piece that kind of the story there is, and I think could be valuable for somebody, and it falls into, like, the guy that owns it's a billionaire who lives in Switzerland. I mean, so that was another kind of pretty cool thing. We didn't own it, still don't own one penny of it, nothing. I'm an entrepreneur in that business, but it taught me so much. So I don't think you have to go right into entrepreneurship. Like, I spent 10, 12 years working in that business, growing it, learning lots of very valuable stuff, building his wealth, somebody else's wealth. I'm building it for him, but I was getting paid. I was, every year we talked about it, I said yes to my salary. It was negotiated. Other people made more, other people made less. I don't know, but I said yes to the deal I got. So I can't be unhappy about it. Now, as I was at 46 years of age, I'm like, dang, I should have got some ownership in that thing. Like, somehow in there somewhere, that would have been a really smart move on my part. Well, just didn't happen. So that's the headquarters. So Hamilton, Texas is the plant. That's where.
Do y'all kill pigs there, or y'all just getting
we don't kill pigs. So we own pigs up in Illinois and Wisconsin, and we're we're contracting with farmers to raise more, and then we get them custom slaughtered in Iowa, Sioux City, Iowa, at a plant called Supreme Packing. So they slaughter them. We send most of the middle meats to Whole Foods, and then we get the bellies and trim and hams.
That's what I was going to ask. Y'all just make bacon there, or y'all making other pork products?
A couple other things. We'll make some fully cooked breakfast sausage. We've got a spiral oven and a spiral chiller, so we can fully cook. So we make some really good fully cooked sausages, some bacon crumbles, some roasted bacon. But, outside of that, it's really a bacon plant. That's what it does.
That's cool. Tell me about Bacon Bash. Is that Pedersons puts that on, or are y'all just a big part of it? Or?
Yeah, we're a big part of it. I'm the president of the board of Bacon Bash, but it's an autonomous 501c3 charity with a board that's comprised of lots of smart businessmen and women who've just got involved over the years, and we try to raise money to help the needy and provide scholarships for kids with type 1 so they can have Dexcom units or continuous glucose monitoring units, and also go to camps. And, that really ties to Pedersons in the way of the no sugar bacon. So when no sugar bacon started its, hockey stick upwards, we started thinking, well, hey, man, this is working out pretty good. Let's be good stewards of this and start giving back in some way. So that's where Bacon Bash came from. I would say Pedersons had a huge piece in getting it started, from Scott Cooney to my wife to Owen and Sandy Carlson, who live in Cranfill's Gap and own the bar there, or did own the bar there, called the Horny Toad. They lost a daughter to, just an accident, and they were, trying to find ways to remember her, and Nikki Warms the Cold is where that and so we're like, okay, cool, we'll help Nikki Warms the Cold. Then they had a niece with diabetes. Well, okay, cool, we'll help. It's just no real idea about any of it outside. Let's have a bacon party. Mm-hmm. Let's put on an auction. Let's raise money. And now we're like over $1 million raised for charity, and having a really fun event for people to come.
Tell us about the event. Like, describe what it is, what goes on there.
Well, if you're brave enough to drive into the middle of the country in Texas to this little town called Cranfill's Gap, you'll find 2,000 or 3,000 people on the street eating bacon dishes cooked up by 15 to 20 different teams. And the rules are pretty simple. We give them bacon. They cook whatever they want. They give you a bite of whatever it is they're cooking, and then we judge it. We live judge it with celebrity panel. You kind of have a on-site judging group of foodies and chefs and backyard cooks that go around and score the initial 15 to 20. Then we'll bring 6 of them to the final table. They get judged by the celebrity panel. We got a bacon eating contest. We have a concert, a live auction, a big VIP tent. It's just evolved into what it is. I mean, the first year was like in the backyard with 5 or 6 teams. And so it's pretty cool. Then we also do a kind of a mid-year thing called Ball of the Bash, or a night on the strip, which is more of a smaller event, higher ticket, kind of upscale meal or something that last year we did in Amarillo. We've done it kind of in different venues just to say, hey, here's a cool place to go. Y'all, let's go check it out. And so some way to kind of keep the Bacon Bash faithful aware of hey, third weekend in October, we're partying,
Yeah.
raising money. We've got some really good people that just come every year, support it in the auction. And so that's how we're able to raise the money.
Cool. Yeah. I haven't been. I've always planned and ended up not going, but I love the concept. I love baking. You know, y'all always have good bands.
Yeah.
I love good food, you know, so definitely.
Now we've got a bacon wall. Have you heard about that?
No.
It's this big green wall, 3-sided wall. It's got a bell on it. You ding that bell and a hand comes out of the wall and hands you a piece of bacon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that I'll have to check that out. So what about your podcast? The Cowboy Perspective. What motivated you to start that, and
Yeah.
who are some of the people you have on there, and what do you talk about?
Well, the reason I started it is I'm driving down the road listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says something like, if you're not doing a podcast, you're not really trying. Or
Yeah.
You're going to end up getting beat by whoever else decides to. As in my life, it just hit me like, okay. So I went, bought mics and Zoom recorders and started recording. And as typical, when I'm not any good, have no clue what I'm doing, I start getting all the most popular people I know to come, you know. Probably the most famous guy I know very well is Ty Murray. I mean, he's like my first. I call him up. I'm like, hey, I'm doing a podcast. He's like, what is that? Well, I don't really know, but would you be on there? Anyways, he said yes. We talked. Then I just started interviewing. You know, I feel like, okay, so what is it that I know? It turned out, you know, I'm just kind of driving along thinking, well, I don't know what I know, but I am what I would call a cowboy, and I have a perspective that was really passed to me through other cowboys and cowgirls and the people I've came in touch with through selling bacon and making bacon, all these things. So I just started. So that's what I did. I said, okay, I'll just call it the Cowboy Perspective. Interviewed Ty, interviewed my dad, interviewed several other men from the community that I was really doing it just to say thank you to them. Like, I was like, hey, thank you for trying to help me. You know, I mean, that's basically all you can do is try to help somebody, and then it's their job from then on, which then just turned into what were kind of histories of their life in some way. And that's been fun. And then once I kind of got through those people, then I'd say, hey, Ty, would you introduce me? Would you think Randy Bernard would be on? Oh, wow, that was cool. He's a really interesting guy. He's managing Garth Brooks. I mean, his way of thinking about stuff has been really valuable to me. He's like, if you're going to do something, if you're going to have somebody come in, he thought those rodeo cowboys were not treated well at rodeos. So he just started treating them like rock stars. And next thing you know, the PBR, and he's a big part of that. So anyways, I mean, then this guy named Jay Samet, I got him. He's a really cool guy. Was like a executive at Sony Music or something, but the way I got him on is he does watercolor painting. Sorry, Jay. You don't do paints. He paints with watercolor. I saw one he had a cowboy and a dog sitting on the tailgate of a truck. I just messaged him and said, hey, can I buy that? And by me just doing that, then I said, oh, by the way, I do this podcast. Would you come on? So I just did a nice thing for him that made him feel good because, you know, he put some work into that art, and to have somebody appreciate it, well, that made him feel good. So then he came on the podcast. Another guy named Marcus Sheridan. Some of the people I've talked to are just brilliant. They're world class at what they do. And if nobody, you know, I have that kind of whiny bag thing about me that I wish everybody would listen to it. And I wished I was some super popular podcast host. Then I wake up and say, if nobody listens to that, I learned so much.
Yeah.
And I've got a network now. Like, I still reach out to those people occasionally. I'm like, hey, would you, and they still respond. We have a relationship. It's not like a deep one. It's not like they're my inner circle of 5 best friends, but there's a lot of value there, and you're building it too with the Wealthy Cowboy, getting different people on, having a conversation, spending an hour of time with somebody. We've done it a couple times now, and we know each other a lot better than we ever would have any other way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'll bet if you need something and I can help, I will.
Yeah.
And I think you'd do the same for me. So to me, that's cowboy. That's cowboy stuff.
Yeah, it's cool getting to hear people's stories, see where they're coming from. Even people that I'm close to, that I've known for a long time. I haven't got to sit down and hear their whole story, and I'd still learn stuff about them, and hearing people's takes on things, and just have a conversation and learn a little bit.
Yeah.
You can learn a little bit from everybody, really, I think.
100%. I mean, we're almost an echo chamber because I think we agree on almost everything. Like, that's that's some stuff that is cool. It's fun to talk to somebody that you agree with on stuff and see have kind of the same perspective. I interviewed Clinton Anderson. That guy's, he's interesting.
Yeah.
I really appreciate him. Not 100% on the same page as him with everything, but most things.
He's
that's
got a
the funny
different
thing.
perspective.
In fact, the people we disagree with, it's really only about 5, maybe 8% of the stuff we disagree with. Everything else we do agree. We're like, hey, we like breathing air. Hey, we like eating food.
We're Americans,
Hey, we're Americans.
We like being free.
All these things we so much agree on. I'm not a big proponent of some of these pronouns, and maybe I think, can't we all just be humans? Do we have to be white and black?
Y'all got that in common.
Dark color, whatever. Although, I'm lying if I don't say I don't see that. I do. I was raised in rural Texas, and I don't think it makes me bad. I am not a bad person. Do I have some perspectives that I need to audit and make sure I agree with? Yeah. So does everybody. I think people think cowboys are hicks and stupid and talk funny. Okay. In fact, we've all been slaves. Somewhere in the history of my family, they were slaves. Everybody's been through that. It just happened to be, I didn't bear that burden in my life. Somebody that I came from did. Anyway, I don't know, that could be a little bit deep or off topic, but it's these sensitive things that make you a little nervous. Like, we're going to get some comments about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't intend it to be, insensitive. I'm saying I don't know everything about everything, but I'm willing to talk about it and say what I think and be told, you think I'm stupid. All right, cool. Now tell me more about that. Exactly why? Because I display mostly in my life I'm not stupid. So this thing makes you think I'm stupid. So let's explore that a little bit. It's quite possible I am. Anyway.
Yeah, it's funny, when people are going to do and say whatever they're going to do and say, they're just going to do it. And then how you perceive it is on you, whether it's positive or negative. And a real good example, I try to implement this every day in my life, but a real good example that is easy to share is Alex Hermosi was talking about his wife, Layla. They're walking down the street. Her and a guy bump into each other. this guy's having a bad day or whatever, and he turns around and says, watch where you're walking, you skinny little bitch. And so they go on, nothing happens, they go on, and later on she says, can you believe that he thought I was skinny? That's so awesome. And it's funny because, he meant it as an insult, but she took it as a compliment, took the good part. So people are trying to be hateful and you can take something positive out of it. It's all how you perceive it. It's never the other person's fault. Another thing I heard from somewhere is, the person with the problem is the person with the problem. It's not your fault that you did something and they're mad about it. It's their issue to deal with, so it's all how you perceive it. But to get on a lighter note and to start wrapping things up, I know you asked me this question. What's a favorite horse that you had at some point in your life?
Oh, yeah. Well, so 3 different horses just came to mind. I'm like, okay, which one do I talk about? I guess I got to talk about Bimbo. He was a horse that me and my granddad would kind of went to the pasture and looked at, and he was just talking to me. Well, for whatever reason, that mare got brought up right next to my house. So I would pretty much any free time I had, I would just be in the pasture trying to pet this colt. And my granddad had told me something like, if you move slow enough, they'll never know you moved. So I'm sitting out there moving a millimeter at a time. It had to be hilarious. I'm sure mom and dad are in the house punching each other. Look at Neil. He thinks they're just grazing. The horse is moving just to graze faster than I'm ever going to get over there because I'm trying to go like super slow. Anyways, I just spent tons of time with that horse. And in fact, that also created some jealousy in the family. It's like, so now Neil's got this horse next to his house. There's 13, 15 other kids didn't get to have a horse next to their house. They didn't get to go out there and pretend or believe that was their horse. But I was just lucky. I don't really feel bad about it. It was just happened to be how my life went. So that was Bimbo. That was really the first horse I felt like was mine, although he never was. But I got to ride him as a young horse. He never made any kind of really great horse. He was really lazy and just not super athletic. So he never made a good calf horse or anything. He was a decent ranch horse. But
you just had a connection.
Yeah. Why was he named a Bimbo, right? We're at my grandparents' house. You ever heard that song? Bimbo. I don't even know who sings it. Bimbo, Bimbo, where you gonna go, yo? You ever heard that?
I don't think so.
I got to look it up. I almost wish Taylor was over there on Google so he could look it up. But somewhere, sometime or another, I said something like, we should name a horse Bimbo. We should name a horse Bimbo. Well, then my granddad remembered that, and he did it. So that horse's name was Doc Bimbo. And anyways, that's my story. That's the horse story I've got for you. There's a whole bunch of other ones.
Yeah,
it's like
it's hard to narrow it down.
My memory bank is full of horses. Me and my brother talk about this. We watched The Man from Snowy River. Like the horses were the thing in that movie that just got my heart. He thought the whip was the coolest. It's like we all got to find those things that are just kind of, or we're lucky if we find those things that just kind of grab our heart and pull us that direction.
Yeah, and everybody can see this, see the same thing and draw something else, something different from
That's
it.
right.
What are some of your favorite books that you read?
Trillionaire Coach. Is that right? Anyways, talks about this guy. I'm pretty sure it's the Trillionaire Coach that coached all these big time CEO Silicon Valley people, from Jobs to Microsoft leadership, Google leadership. That book just taught me so much. It's really good. I would advise anybody, go read it and get an idea or perspective of how a guy who just coached super high performers. Like they're already badasses, but he's getting them to think about stuff in a way that helps them, kind of get out of the rocket ship and say, okay, cool. Actually, yeah, these are the things I need to do. So that's a really good book. And the Bible, I've been reading the Bible one chapter at a time. It's going to be a 3-year project, but I'll try to read a chapter every day. And it's really valuable to me. It makes me think about how the world was 2,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago, and how humans are who we are.
Yeah.
In the New Old Testament of the Bible, you do the wrong thing, you're dead. Like they are protecting their culture very seriously. I don't think we do that these days. Like that's kind of why I'm mentioning that kid doing that punk stuff and almost being rewarded for it. Just a few years ago, he would have been took out of the city and stoned to death. We don't put up with that. Like if you're going to bring that into our culture, that's not what we stand for. It's not what we want. We don't put up with it. No, that's extreme and totally different times and all these things. But we tolerate a whole lot. And I don't know if that's the best idea.
Yeah.
I think men need to be asking that question.
You can see that throughout history, I think, is that, you get into a real tolerant, soft society, and then it crumbles and starts over from nothing with hard guys again, You
watch that. There's some study. I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day, and now I've lost the study it was, but it was of mice. A guy just gave them this utopian society, basically all the food they can want, no predators. And over some amount of generations, they just died out because they lost the drive to reproduce and procreate. The females got super aggressive. The males got super passive. They started inbreeding. It was just like this crazy thing. Like we need hardship. We need it. It can't all be easy for us, or we die off. And I think that's a big. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the world has it easy, or even in America. There's very sad poverty and stuff I don't even want to talk about. Sex trafficking. This stuff that makes my stomach turn, that I don't deal with or see or even think about. So me saying we all need hardship doesn't mean there is no hardship. But as a whole, if you just kind of took on average the amount of hardship Americans deal with today, it's way less than it has ever been previously. That's why we're worrying about stuff that.
Yeah, most of us.
I feel like we don't need to be worried about. We could be focused on a lot different things.
Most of us aren't worried about getting our next meal, or getting eaten by a lion, or anything like that, in fear for our life,
or blown up by a bomb, or shot, or just it's.
First world problems.
Yeah, that's right. And
Facebook went down the other day, or AT&T went down before that. So that was a big uproar.
That's right.
What are you listening to in your travels and when you're working out and things like that? Are you listening to music? You listen to podcasts, audibles?
Yeah, podcasts. I'm on a PBD kick right now, and I like him because he's putting Chris Como and what's the lady's name? Anyway, she's a conservative leader.
Yeah, I listened to that the other day.
Candace.
Yeah, Candace Owens.
Yes. And they're talking. I'm proud of Como for doing it because he knew he was coming into a hostile environment because conservative at PBD. I mean, they're Trump supporters. They kind of think conservatively, but they're putting in. They're trying really hard to not make it an echo chamber of conservatism.
Yeah, and even Adam Sosnick on there. I mean, he's not really conservative. He's kind of pushed that way because the left got so far left, but he argues, sometimes, the other way more. He's more liberal, so you get, like you said, it's not an echo chamber. They go back and forth.
You just reminded me of something. So they started this Monect. Mm-hmm. Hey, everybody, I'm an expert on Monect. If you're listening to The Wealthy Cowboy and you got a question for me, I'll answer. And I think it's a brilliant thing. I'm using it from a sales perspective. You can send 5 million cold emails. You got no chance of me answering it because I get so many of them, I just junk mail immediately. You Monect me, pay me $10. I'm going to get back to you. And as a salesman, that is so valuable. That's worth the $10. It's costing me way more than $10, even if it's, hey, no, not interested. Yay, thanks. Now I know. Because really what a salesperson that continually calls on you they eventually piss you off. Mm-hmm. Like I get tired of them. And now you've got even a bigger barrier to overcome to ever get my business or to even get my answer. Like, hey, okay, cool. I know you're a salesperson. You got this job to do. You got to make a bunch of cold calls. I get it. Send me an email. Sorry, you didn't catch me on the right day at the right time. Don't send me 500 emails. Or find this cool app, Monect me. My 5 minutes, my 20 minutes, my whatever it's going to take to get back to you, $10. It's not a ridiculous. I think it's just not a ridiculous ask. Mm-hmm. I Monected every one of those guys on the PBD podcast, and it was cool. Yeah, it was like, hey man, yeah, they got back to me. They actually sent audio responses, so they weren't just having their assistant do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hit me up on Monect if you so desire.
What's you're in the bacon business basically. I would imagine that you've been consumed with bacon for the 20 years or whatever it's been. You got any cool, like a recipe, a type of thing? And plus you're seeing at Bacon Bash, people get creative. What's a cool bacon, something you can cook and incorporate bacon with that you like? I mean,
really the one that comes to mind is I think it might have been the third year at Bacon Bash, a team made pralined bacon rum ice cream. And it is the bomb. It is so good. Matter of fact, Bacon Bash has a cookbook out, and I'm sure that recipe's in there. So I should try to get you the link to that or something, although I don't know if it's even available. I'll have to get on Bacon Bash's website, see if they have that cookbook available. But it's got all of the top 5 recipes from all 12 years or something. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool bacon recipes in there from that's the first one that comes to mind, and it was a long time ago. There's been lobster since. There's been all really cool dishes.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because it was early on, and I was kind of blown away. Wow, that is super interesting. How would you even praline a bacon?
Yeah, they got real creative.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, where can they find you and follow you? You got Monect, Cowboy Perspective.
Yeah, I think we can go to rattling off all these things. This is the truth. Google the Cowboy Perspective. You're going to see my YouTube channel. You're going to see my Instagram. You're going to see my website. So that's all, people. If you're interested in more, Google, or really any search engine is going to pull up the same stuff. Mm-hmm. So link them to thecowboyperspective.com, or if they're just interested in what Neil Dudley's up to, Google the Cowboy Perspective or Pedersons Farms, and you ain't going to have a hard time finding something to tell you about it.
Good deal. We will see y'all next time, and share it out. Neil has some good perspectives on life, and y'all go check him out at the Cowboy Perspective, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, people, listen. Do Crockett that small favor, because he's doing, like, all you got to do is tell one person, and it'll help him. And why do we want to help Crockett? Because he's a good dude. He's trying to bring some content to you that can add value. So don't just listen, and we put this in at the end, so there's already a smaller number of people listening by this point anyway. So do a small little thing, share it, tell one person you liked it, tell them to listen. I guarantee they're not gonna wish they didn't, and it helps Crockett. So do it, people.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.